Hi there, James Strode, publisher of the Global Legal Insights to Fund Finance. And today joining me is Terry Hatton of MUFG Americas and FFA board member. Terry, good to see you, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, James. It's always nice to talk to you, and I know we're often talking frequently, particularly when the Pink Book is coming out early in the year.
That's right. And before we touch upon the Pink Book, Terry, I want to talk a little bit about the industry and your thoughts for 2025. So let me kick off and say, I suppose the back end of 2024 was some form of resurgence, origination on the rise, ease around pricing, and so on. So generally speaking, more optimism in the market. Is that a belief that you share at the back end of last year and going into this year coming?
I certainly do, James. I think over 24 and throughout the year, our own originations rose dramatically, particularly toward the end of the year. And refinancings were also in full swing and driven forcefully toward the end of the year as well, with everybody taking advantage of significantly reduced pricing within the bank market. And I will say that has kind of carried over into this year. I think the pace still throughout 2024 was maybe slower than the preceding few years, but things have settled down now, and the market seems honestly less jittery, less reactionary. I think, we've been over many times before what happened in the preceding couple of years, but things look much, much better now. I think we see more banks have either moved into the space or resumed operation. And not only have banks come back in with increased allocations, but we've seen many of the NBFIs move aggressively into the space. And these are either through standalone entities, partnerships, insurance companies, or other sources of capital, including funds themselves, providing some of the capital that's needed for this particular space. I'll add that we've also seen a rise in term loans and longer tenured loans being resurrected. With the increase in insurance companies coming into the industry and the changes in Basel, we've seen a corresponding increase in deals being rated. Fitch, S&P, KBRA, they're all very, very busy right now and working through various assignments. Lastly, maybe I'd add that there's been a significant amount of discussion around securitization. We've seen it pop up in many different areas, and I believe we're going to see a lot more of this year that's coming. We saw the thin edge of the wedge, so to speak, in that regard, and anticipate seeing much more.
Fantastic. You've picked up on a few of those key themes, Terry, that the Pink Book touches upon this year as well. Just another thing from the Pink Book, and want to get your opinion on. Mike Masher at Everbank has written an industry viewpoint this year. He just mentions and talks a little bit about how the restructuring in banks has occurred over the past few years to make sure they follow up all the possible fund financing opportunities that there are. Traditionally, he says that perhaps, if it was outside the vertical of fund finance, the banks would have missed out on that opportunity. So just from your perspective, MUFG, how are you guys shaping up sort of with that bigger, expansive fund finance industry coming into play?
Sure. Great question. Look, I've read Mike's piece and I always admire his eloquence in laying things out on a straightforward, easy to read manner, and the broad spectrum of his knowledge. I really have great respect for him. I would suggest that it's everyone should be reading it and gaining insight into what's happening with the industry, which is a real game changer. Here at MUFG, we are a large institution, multinational. Obviously, we're a Japanese bank, but we are involved in many aspects of the market itself. And we generally have a very broad view of what we can do and how we can interact. We in the fund finance area are part of a broader group within the bank called GFS, Global Financial Solutions. And that provides a myriad of solutions to the fund finance market and has been doing so for many years now. We provide, amongst other things, some of the normal products that you might see, the transaction banking, the FX, et cetera. But we also do a lot of financing for secondaries, and that sort of thing, such as NAV products as well, and some more esoteric approaches that reach out to the SRT, CRT markets through the insurance companies and private equity firms alike. So it's a very broad business. We've always taken a very broad view and are very integrated vertically and horizontally within the bank in order to provide solutions for the fund business.
Fantastic. Thank you for that insight there, and kind words as well about Mike. I'm sure he'll be blushing when he hears that. Look, we've been really positive on this call, and there is so much to be positive about. I suppose if you just think sort of more broadly or globally, any particular sort of headwinds, tailwinds that you're seeing, and how 2025 will shape up from your perspective?
Honestly, James, I'm very bullish on the year ahead of us. I think activity is strong and it's competitive. We like to see the competitive nature of the business itself. As you know, the anomalies or the disruptions in the market that we've seen in the past have just come out of the blue. But there's nothing I'm anticipating at this point in time. I suspect that we'll continue to see a push on pricing, a very competitive market set that I've mentioned. I think we'll see longer tenors, new entrants, and touching upon the securitization again, new ways of financing funds. And as Mike put it, more integration within the firms themselves. So it's not going to be business the same old way unless all you want to do is that subscription capital call business. I anticipate seeing an increased presence from non-bank lenders, the NBFIs themselves.
Fantastic. Terry, switching caps and putting on your Fund Finance Association cap for one moment. 2024 saw record attendance at Miami, a huge host of content. I'm thinking FFA Next Gen, FFAU, and all sorts others. Very briefly, what's the game plan for 2025?
Well, honestly, there's a lot on the agenda, an awful lot. And I appreciate you touching on this in particular. We will be focused in on all of the things that you mentioned, whether it's the FFA Next Gen, whether it's the FFA University 1.0, 2.0. I would hope that we can expand that a little bit. I would hope that we could expand some of the teachings that we do into the conference down in Miami as well. In terms of things that are coming up in the near term, in addition, we have the event in Tokyo coming up. I don't know how many people are paying attention to that, but that date is May 29th. We're in the process of just finalizing some of the details, and we're going to make a formal announcement very, very soon. We're also considering a U.S. Summit event, much like we did in Portugal. That will be happening later this year in the autumn. The U.S. Advisory Committee is aware of it. We just had a conversation on it yesterday, and a LinkedIn post should be going live shortly on it. I'm just trying to think of the dates offhand, but we're looking at October 15th to 17th, as I recall, and it's going to be at the stunning Montage Palmetto Bluff down in South Carolina. We are labeling it the 2025 U.S. Global Leadership Summit. So I hope to see many people there at that event. In terms of Miami, I may or may not have touched on it. We've already got over 2,000 registrants for Miami this year. We want to see you get there early. Ryan Reynolds, for those who don't know, is one of the keynotes. It's anticipated that he'll be very entertaining. I'd ask you to put it on your calendar, mark it down, but try and get there early. At the conference itself, we've got over 500 borrowers, or just about 500 borrowers, meaning GPs and that sort of thing. And we're now over 40 limited partners, which is a step up on both regards. Then the 2026 event, that can be found on our website, but the date, we have moved it up to avoid some of the conflicts that have taken place in the past year. We're now looking at February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So we're actually going back to a 3-day conference, which a number of people have mentioned they would like to see. And it's earlier in the month to get over some of the conflicts that we've had. Maybe just a couple of last things. APAC University, March 24th to 25th. We're going to see that you can find that on our website. There is the London Leadership Forum, September 17th, which is taking place right before the September 18th general event. And then the 7th annual Asia Pacific Fund Finance Symposium is taking place in Hong Kong on November 6th. So I hope I haven't given you too much information, but there's a lot going on, and we're trying to do more and more every year.
You've smashed that out of the park to remember all of that, Terry, and get it down. That is one busy calendar, I must say, for the Fund Finance Association. And just on that front, I'm thinking, is there anything the viewers of this, the readers of the Pink Book, can do to help further all of what you've just gone on for plans for 2025 and beyond?
Sure. Look at the Pink Book should really appear on the New York Times bestseller list or must-read list for people. It's very informative, and I know I'm drawing this analogy with the New York Times bestseller list, but it is important. It's key. It provides market insight and overviews from all around the world. It talks about the industry trends, talks about the developments around key topics, which are critical. This business is evolving every year more and more. And then this year, I think we touched on it, there is a new section, Industry Viewpoints, and it's great because it makes the book accessible, and readers hear from some of the big names in the industry with some thought leadership around the history of fund finance and what is next for the business. So people really need to read what Mick Young and Mike Masha have to say about that. What's equally great is that the authors of these pieces tend to be at the conference and will certainly be down in Miami. They're easy to talk to, they're easily reachable and nice, and I'd encourage people to try and touch base with them if they have any questions. Lastly, just be sure and get to the conference early. I know I'm getting there early. I want to get that hard copy from you. But honestly, I also get a soft copy so that I can read it on the plane, in the car, taxi, the train, whenever I have some spare time. It is readable. It's written that way. It's done by industry experts. Again, it's super informative. Make sure you are reading it and looking at it.
That's very kind to say, Terry. Much appreciated. We'll make sure then you're front of the queue in Miami for that hard copy. Look forward.
Well, thank you. Be sure and autograph a copy for me.
Well, look, I look forward to seeing you in about 3 weeks or so time down in Miami. Appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today as well. And thanks for watching.
My pleasure, totally, and I do look forward to seeing you. It really is 3 weeks. It just is around the corner now. I can't believe how quickly the time has come. Anyhow, James, have a great afternoon, and thanks for the discussion.
Take care.